You know, you would think that with the amount of budget builds that I do on this channel right here, that I would have used AliExpress to purchase parts at some point in time, but I just haven't. That's gonna change today. So for a little bit of a backstory, AliExpress reached out to me a few months ago and tried to see if I'd be willing to review some of their items. And I said, no, I don't want to review a few of your items. What I wanna do is put together an entire PC using only AliExpress parts. And then they said that they would be willing to do that. So I was like, hey, that sounds awesome. Let's go ahead and get that done. So that's what we're gonna be doing here today. We're gonna be building a AliExpress build, kinda, an all AliExpress PC, kinda. Now the reason that I have always wanted to do an AliExpress build is because I focus primarily on budget builds, and you can find some pretty crazy deals for items on AliExpress, and you can find a bunch of stuff that isn't usually available to us here in the United States. So we should be able to build something that you generally don't see here. Now the reason that I say all AliExpress PC, kinda, is because there is one part of this PC that didn't come from AliExpress, and there's a good reason why it didn't come from AliExpress, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But for now, let's start by showing you some of the hardware that's gonna be going in today's build. I don't know why I've been holding this. It looks like a Cheeto, but it's like a foam thing that my son uses. Jesus. Now to start off this whole process, we needed to pick a platform. Did we want to go with Intel or did we want to choose AMD? Now it is really fun to kind of scroll through all of AliExpress's pages and look at all the old technology that they offer. Like they have like old X99 boards and Xeon processors, all this crazy old tech that you can buy brand new. It's really fun. It's like a little trip down hardware lane. But for today's build, we went with a B650M by Maxsun. It's an MATX board. It's an AM5 motherboard, and it comes with a special little present inside. It comes with a Ryzen 5 7500F CPU. What I think is absolutely crazy is that we are able to get an AM5 socket motherboard plus an AM5 CPU for $247 when you can go on Amazon right now and the Ryzen 5 7600 is available for about $200. So for $47 more, you can get both your motherboard and your CPU, and you put yourself in a prime position to upgrade in the future if, let's say, you want to go for one of the 9000 series X3D chips that are coming out soon. You can go ahead and do that. Now there is a chance that some of you guys have never heard of a Ryzen 5 7500F, and that's because it's not available at the Best Buy or local PC shop down the road. You have to buy this on places like AliExpress. Now you can find it on Amazon, but that's being sold by third-party sellers who are buying it for a cheap amount of money and they're jacking up the price so that they can keep the difference. I think it's called retail arbitrage. Lots of people do that. But this is an insanely good CPU because it does have a 3.7 gigahertz base clock CPU with a 5 gigahertz max boost clock. It's a 6-core hexa-core processor with 32 megabytes of L3 cache, 6 megabytes of L2 cache, and it has a TDP of 65 watts. Now, it does not have integrated graphics, like I said, but it is an unlocked CPU, so that means we can overclock this bad boy, which I'm definitely gonna do. So before we can go ahead and put that motherboard and CPU inside of the case that I purchased for today's build, we do need to finish adding the rest of the items that go on the motherboard, like the RAM and the storage. Now for storage, I went with this Crutial P3. This is a 1 terabyte storage drive's fast read and write speeds. I like the Crutial P3. Some people prefer to go with the T300 or T500s or the T700s if you want to go for a Gen 5 drive. But a P3 is an extremely extremely good drive. I used one for about 2 years and I had never had any issues with it, so I went with this one. I believe the cost for this was $61. It's not the greatest value in the world. I believe you can find them for a similar price here in the States, but to try and keep up with the all AliExpress, I went with this one right here. Now, here is where I got tricked. I fell for this, and it's my fault. I take full responsibility for falling for this, but I was going through all of the DDR5 memory that they have there, which they don't have the largest selection of DDR5 memory, but I was kind of looking through and I found Corsair Vengeance Ram, and I like Corsair Vengeance Ram. I thought that that would be a good pickup, and when you look at the listing, it says 16 gigs, and it shows an image of 2 sticks. So in my mind, I know that they make 8 gig DDR5 sticks. Now, typically you want 16 gig sticks and you want them to be around 6,000 megatransfers per second. But I went ahead and thought that maybe I was getting an insane deal for $52 on 2 sticks of 16 gigs. I thought there were 2 8 gig sticks. I was incorrect, and I was sent one 16 gig stick. Now we can say that I fell for it. I mean, it is $52, so if you were to give me 2 sticks, it'd be $104, which is about the right price for 32 gigs of DDR5 memory these days, so I didn't really get robbed. I just got tricked. My brain thought that I was gonna be getting 2 sticks when I was really getting 1. Now, I immediately went on Amazon to see if I could find another, 16 gig individual stick of Corsair Vengeance Ram, and unfortunately they only sell them in kits, and I'm not going to go ahead and purchase another 16 gig stick on AliExpress so that I can wait a couple weeks for it to arrive so that we can get this build done. I'm just gonna go ahead and we're gonna deal with 1 stick of 6,000 megatransfers per second RAM. So the last thing that we need to add to the motherboard before it is ready to be added into our case is to put on the brackets for our CPU cooler. Now, this is one item that I am extremely excited to test out, and it's right here. It's the Frozen Warframe 240mm AIO by Thermalright. If you guys have watched me at all for any amount of time, you'll know that I love Thermalright, and I know that AliExpress is where you can find all of Thermalright's crazy items. They have so many different AIOs and items that you can purchase, but you have to get them through AliExpress. They only have a very limited amount of items that you can purchase on like Newegg and Amazon here. And I have always wanted to try out this AIO here. And this is another thing that I'm very excited to see, is the fact that this AIO comes with no fans. I am massively into having all of my fans match. It would drive me nuts to see that my AIO had different fans than the rest of my build. I mean, I know that I'm not the only one who thinks that way. Some of you guys might think I'm insane. I mean, that's just what it is. But this AIO comes with no fans. So you're just getting the radiator and the pump, which decreases the total cost of the AIO, and it allows me to add in the fans that I want to add into this build. It's wonderful. Why don't more people do that? And this is the case that I have chosen for today's build. Now, this is the PADO MATX case. PADO, I guess is what we're gonna call it, but this is a $30 case. I paid $29.95 for this MATX case. Now, it is an aquarium style case that everyone loves. It's got 1 USB 3, 2 USB 2s, a reset and power button. It is as basic as it is ever gonna get, but it's gonna function perfectly, and it's still gonna give us a really, really nice design. I'm really excited to build in this little thing. Now, we are gonna need to power this system, and I wanted to make sure that we had enough wattage so that way in the future, if we did wanna upgrade to maybe a 9000 series Ryzen chip and maybe a 4080 Super or something like that, we had the wattage to get that done. And with 850 watts from, what is this company called? JULONGFENBAO. JULONGFENBAO. This is a JULONGFENBAO 850 watt fully modular power supply. who's watched me for any amount of time knows that no build that I do is done unless it's got a whole bunch of fans. So I've got 5 fans by AIGO, lots of ARGB glory. We're gonna be adding that into the build, and I got some cable extensions, some green and black, because we're getting a little poisonous today. Let's add this in. So we've reached the part of the video where we only have one item left to go inside of our PC, and it is the graphics card. And the graphics card that I chose is this 4060 by Galax. Now this is an 8 gig graphics card. The total price for this card comes out to $284, which is a pretty good bargain. And this is the only item inside of our build today that is not from AliExpress, and let me explain why. Now, AliExpress is a marketplace where prices go up, prices go down, things go on sale, things come off sale. When I was piecing together today's computer, I could not find a graphics card that was a decent enough value. Everything seemed to be overpriced at the time. Now, I just looked at AliExpress today and I was able to find a 6750 GRE for a slightly cheaper price than I got this 4060 for, and I would have much rather gone with the 6750 GRE and I would have purchased that. But unfortunately, at the time of me buying all of the items for this build, I think the 6750 GRE was like $340, and I'm not gonna buy a $340 graphics card when I could buy this for $284. It's just a better value. So we're gonna be throwing this into today's build. Hopefully you guys aren't mad about that. So with our graphics card installed, I think it's time for a beauty montage. What do you guys think? You ready to get into it? Let's get it. So I guess what we should do is probably start off with a pros and cons list. And we'll begin with the pros, and the first pro is, this thing looks awesome. You can't convince me otherwise. This is a really super sick looking PC, especially for the price. And we'll go into the price in a little bit. I'm pretty sure you're gonna be shocked at the total cost to put this thing together is incredible. And also the performance from this thing. I know I haven't shown you the performance from this thing, but it also performs extremely well for the price tag on it. And I mean, just look at it. It's just so good looking. And how about this Thermalright AIO? For anybody who's been watching me for any amount of time, you know that I've used a ton of Thermalright AIOs, and this is my new favorite one. Yeah, it's $240. Yeah, it didn't come with fans, but yeah, it was under $100, and it has an LCD screen. So if you are watching me because you like to flip PCs, that is gonna help you flip PCs. Just having a screen there. People love that. Now, as far as the cons, this case right here does not have the best airflow. I'm pretty sure there's somebody in the comment section who has already gone down and told me about how it is pointless to have these bottom 2 fans in here. Now, to an extent, I do agree with you, even though they are bringing in some air, not a ton, but it is helping to make sure that this graphics card never went over 61 degrees Celsius, even at 100% load for well over an hour. So they're not 100% pointless, even though they could definitely use a little bit more fresh air. I would suggest maybe perforating the back of this case a little bit so that you can get some kind of fresh air up through these fans, because that is like the only form of intake. But I did set the rear fan here to intake to try and bring in a little bit more fresh air into the system. The thermals from this PC are just fine, as I will show you in the performance section, but for a $30 case, I'm not gonna be too upset about it, even though there are some things they should probably adjust with this case. Also, they put the bezels so far over here that like you have to like stretch them. That's why the cables are like in this crazy configuration here. I don't usually do my cable extensions like this, but it was really the only way that I could because there's really a very small amount of clearance down here for the graphics card in these bottom fans, so I couldn't run it underneath like I usually do. So this like weird snake thing that I've done is the best that I've got for this build. The other con is obviously that I was only able to use 16 gigs of RAM in a single channel. I would have really preferred to at least have 16 gigs of RAM in dual channel. That would have been just fine for me. I would have thought that was pretty good, but obviously 32 gigs is a much better bet. So I did go out and I ordered a 32 gig kit to throw in here because it felt criminal to leave this PC with only one stick of RAM when there's so much performance from this system, which we should probably get into now. Let's talk about the performance from our sweet little system here, all right? So starting out our gameplay testing, I wanted to get a fast start, and I played God of War at its ultra preset, and we were able to get an amazing 82 FPS on average. Now, taking a stroll into an MMORPG with some pretty serious graphics, I jumped into Throne and Liberty, and we were getting an average of 79 FPS at high settings. I felt like shooting a few people, so I went and took a look at how this system would perform with a little bit of ray tracing turned on, and we were getting a solid 111 FPS at ultra settings in Battlefield 2042. And even though I'm not the biggest fan of Warzone, I know that plenty of people are. So I dropped in at a max preset, and we were getting a beautiful 116 FPS on average. Now, it is important to know that we did the gameplay testing on this system at 1080p, but that doesn't mean you can't play at 1440p on this system, and 4060 is plenty enough graphics card to play at 1440, just expect slightly lower FPS. Now, I did say that the thermals for this graphics card were not a problem. I'm showing you on the screen that the max temp that this graphics card did hit was 61 degrees Celsius, which is wonderful to see. And I don't believe that our CPU went over 55 at any point in time. Now, I will go ahead and I'll put links in the description down below to all of the items that I used for this build. But spoiler alert, the total cost of what it took to build this entire PC was $844. And for a brand new system, $844 for the performance and the hardware inside of here is a very good deal. Now, if you did have a little bit of fun here with me today, please go ahead and that subscribe button. It would mean the world to me. We are a very small channel and we are continuously trying to grow, so any support that you would be able to give to the channel, it means the world to me. Plus, you're gonna wanna make sure you're subscribed because you're not gonna wanna miss next week's video, because I have a mini PC in-house that actually might be a stronger gaming PC than this thing right here. So you're not gonna wanna miss that video. I also wanted to take another second to thank AliExpress for sending out all of this hardware. I loved building this PC, and I can't wait to build another one. So AliExpress, if you wanna up the ante and maybe build an even stronger PC, reach out, baby. We got more builds to do. And as always, no matter where you are in the world, I hope that you are having the most fantastic day, and I'm gonna see you right here in the next video.